Hi everyone, I'm Pranathi. I've just finished reading a really great book called Spin Selling by Neil Rackham, and I like to share with you some of the details and learnings about this book. Spin selling is really for anyone who is in selling or in business for themselves, who deals with clients or with customers regularly. What's the challenge that most salespeople have? Well, the biggest one is that most of us don't understand the difference between one call of low value sale versus one of those complex sales. If you're in a business where the customer have to interact with you multiple times over the course of maybe a week, 2 weeks, or even longer, you're in a complex sale environment. Sales have changed so much over the years, and people can figure out when you're trying to sell to them. So in order to avoid that situation, today we're going to talk about spin selling. Spin selling is the best questioning technique process you will ever come across. And this book has been around since 1988. In this book, Neil claims that the spin selling strategy is one of the best validated sales methods available. And it has been developed from research over 35,000 sales calls. There's definitely a lot of evidence and research and statistics that has been shown there to back up Neil's work. And he suggests that it's the job of the salesperson to take a customer from a position where they are not taking action to one where they are taking action. And what that entails or what that requires the salesperson to do is to help an individual uncover their implied needs and then turn those implied needs into explicit needs. Those needs that people must take action on. If we take the weight loss as an example, we are looking at implied and explicit needs. So a person might need to lose weight, which would be an implied need. And it's just something that you need to take action on. But they might not be a really strong force or explicit need to actually take action on. That's where, if you're able to uncover and help that individual who is suffering from weight problem, if you were able to help them to uncover the explicit need, that is, if they don't take action now, what's that going to mean for you basically? You're going to have a heart attack, or you're not going to be able to run around and play with your kids, or you're not going to be feeling confident about yourself. So these are explicit needs that is must take action on. And what Neil is suggesting is that as a salesperson, your job is to evoke that there is an implied need and turn it into an explicit need. I must take action on. And that's what he's trying to explain throughout his research. As per the book, he mainly focuses on salespeople asking the right questions. But how do we know what questions to ask during a sales conversation, and when do you ask them? In the book, Neil gives us a sales tool that will help you ask the perfect sales question that builds rapport and credibility. Now, let's understand what actually SPIN is. SPIN is used as an acronym for 4 different types of sales questions. Namely, situation questions where you collect facts and background data, problem questions where you identify the customer's dissatisfactions, implication questions where you identify the negative consequences of the customer's problem, and the last is need payoff questions where you identify the real benefits of the right solution. Now, let's look at these 4 question types in detail. Number 1, situation questions. This is where you collect facts and background data about the customer's existing situation. By asking situation type questions, you will get a great understanding of your client context. For example, questions like, how many customers do you have? How do you keep track of your sales pipeline? What type of software do you run? Watch out with situation questions. Do not ask too many of them. First of all, they would bore your prospect. And second, nowadays the prospect expects you to have done your research. So the key to succeeding with situation questions is to do your research in advance of the conversation. Number 2, problem questions. Problem questions are all about the customer's difficulties or dissatisfactions. If you can get a customer to acknowledge there's a problem that needs to be fixed, then they are far more likely to give you the attention you need to close a deal. Problem questions are achieved just that by discovering what is causing your prospect's pain. Example of problem questions are, how do you keep track of all your employees' billable hours? Do you ever run out of office supplies before your next delivery? Do you use all features of your current software? Often, a great next step after you find a problem is to follow up with a question that asks more details about the problem. A great way to do this is to use questions asking where, when, who, how often, and what happens if when. And that way you will get a real in-depth description of the problem, and it will be easier to start your third question type, which is the implication questions. Implication questions will make the customer explain the negative impact of the earlier defined problem. Of course, if you want your prospect to consider your solution in any seriousness, they need to have a firm grasp on how serious the problem is. For example, questions like, if leads don't get inputted onto your CRM system, what's the impact on your sales outlook? If training of your sales employees is costly and time consuming, what does that mean for your new reps when they start? If you can't accurately see your marketing data, how do you know what works? Always make sure that you link your implication questions to the other parts of the conversation. Also prepare some really good cases or stories that visualizes the negative consequences of the problem, and that way you communicate your expertise and the client will know you understand their worldview. Number 4, need payoff questions. The final stage of spin selling is need payoff questions. Is to let the prospect understand how valuable your solution is. The secret of getting results with need payoff questions is to ensure this prospect specifies the benefits themselves instead of you dictating the benefits to them. So please encourage your prospects to visualize and imagine what would be different when his problem is gone, and let him explain this. The beauty of need payoff questions is that if you get them right, your customer will tell you in exact detail how your product will help them. Example of need payoff questions are, why is being able to have a big picture overview of your sales pipeline important to you? If you could cut the amount of time spent training new staff, what impact would that have? If you could see at a glance what your marketing results are, how would that help you in your marketing decisions? Need payoff questions need to evoke positive emotions. After all, it feels good to know that their problem can finally be solved. Also, always make sure that you ask need payoff questions before describing your solution. You want to do this so that the buyer is eager to listen to you about your solution. So, these are the 4 types of questions to ask during the sales conversation. This model is a guideline to salespeople. Now, there is no perfect formula that salespeople can use to try and sell a product. But they have to remember to adapt their questions to the type of product they're selling and the type of relationship they may have with the client. So, I highly recommend this book because I've personally got a lot of great insights from reading it and understanding the role of a salesperson. So, this is all about the book called Spin Selling by Neil Rackham. Thank you all for watching this video.